Hello, I'm Sarah, otherwise known as Yarnmugs, and today I'm going to be filming a sew along. I've got lots of things prepared already just to kind of make it a bit easier, but I just thought I'd show you what I plan to be making. So I'm going to be making one of my favourite dresses, and it's the spring dress by Nina Lee, and this was a free pattern in Simply Sewing magazine quite a long time ago. I've made lots of versions of this. What I tend to do though is not have it so deep. I have it a bit higher up, and I don't do 2 tiers. I tend to just do 1 skirt. I don't also do ruffly sleeves. I'm just going to do something a little bit different actually with this dress. I've seen lots of dresses out there with elasticated cuffs, which is what I tend to do, but the sleeve I want to do today has got the elasticated cuff is higher, but that little edge is sealed, so it looks a little bit like ruching, so you have the elastic a bit higher up. So I'm going to give that a go. Now this is the beautiful fabric that I'm going to be using, and it's a beautiful needle cord in a kind of, it's probably more green than blue, sort of like duck egg, but it's got definitely like a sagey green with these beautiful orangey reddy flowers. And this fabric was gifted by my friend Gaynor from Tales from Cuckoo Land. I'm so, I love it. Thank you so much, Gaynor. And I really want to put it to good use. It even looks beautiful inside out. So this is the sleeve head, or the sleeve. And you can see once you've sewn it, it's got quite a big cuff, and like you say, I'm going to put a channel in here for my sleeve, do it a little bit different to how I normally do it. So I'm just going to start clipping all my bits together so I'm ready to start sewing. It's pouring outside. I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, it's a very wet day, perfect for sewing. Okay, so I'm just going to get on with clipping things together. I thought I'd just show you the matching thread. So I use Gutermann thread, and I mean they've got such a huge array of colours, but it's just a perfect match. I'm really pleased with that. I just looked back on the video when I talked about the sleeves. When I was talking about doing a channel lower down, I said it looked like ruching. What I meant was shearing. I'm yet to try shearing. I have bought some shearing elastic, and I thought these sleeves I'd seen were sheared, but I've seen some YouTube tutorials, and it's elastic in a higher up position, so it just gives that different look. So yeah, I'm hoping that that will go down well. Yeah, I'm really pleased. So the other week I cut all this fabric out because I just knew that it's a long process, isn't it, sewing? All the tracing and the cutting out and the preparing before you actually get to using the sewing machine. So yeah, I feel really pleased that I'd kind of prepared and got that organised. I don't know if that helps you with your sewing as well. You know, sometimes you have to do things in batches or in stages rather, not batches. But yeah, having it all ready to go feels nice. One of the things I've done, because I've sewn this dress so many times, but I'm a different size from when I first originally, I kind of use my original pattern, and then I just give myself a bit of an extra measurement all the way around just to give a bit more room. And lately I haven't always put bust darts in my dresses just to give that kind of looser bodice feel. So yeah, if any of you have watched my sew alongs before, I try and sew things in a good way, but I also have, I try not to be too, what's the word? yeah, I just try and go with the flow and, you know, just add an extra inch here, an extra inch there, or make my seam allowances a bit smaller so I've got a bit more room. So sometimes it's a bit of trial and error, but I quite like sewing like that, rather than feeling like you've got to stick to all the rules. So I've got everything ready. I've attached the pockets to my skirt panels. I've clipped my sleeves together, and now all I need to do is start sewing the bodice, and also my bias binding. I make my own bias binding out of the material of the dress that I'm making, if I have enough. And you can see there's a bit of a stretch there. So I just cut strips on the bias, and then I create a long chain of them. I've spoke about this before on other videos, but you kind of create a 90-degree angle, but do it right sides together. Yeah, there's loads of YouTube videos out there. You kind of sew it and it creates a long stretchy bit of tape that I turn into bias binding. So yeah, all nice little bits to do now, and I'll take you along with me to show you all the little stages. Before I start any sewing, I always like to test the fabric with the setup, and just to check that, yeah, all the stitches are looking good and the tension is good. So I'm just going to do that now. So stitches are looking lovely. There's my back and forth to secure at the front and the beginning and the end. But yeah, all very, very neat. Happy with that. I'm now just going to test my overlocker as well, just to make sure that's okay too. So I've got lovely multicoloured overlocker, and that looks really good. Nice and neat, right on the edge. So here's my finished bias binding. I used a little tool to help create this fold. And there's a nice little stretch in it. And I've got plenty of it to create the ties and the neckband. So I've stay stitched the bodice, the front bodice pieces. I've overlocked the centre seams and turned them over and stitched them in place. And I'm now going to join the two front bodice pieces together, but starting from the gap where there's an opening. Okay, so my bodice is joined. I've opened up the seam allowance here, so it's lovely and flat. And then the bits I've not stitched have also been turned over. And now I've got to top stitch from the front, the opening, then go across and then up the opening just to secure those seams down. You can see how, yeah, it's not too low down. I think before I might have had it a little bit lower actually, but don't know if it feels right. It will be fine. Okay, so now I have sewn my front bodice to the back bodice at the shoulders and the side seams, 1 centimetre seam allowance. I'm going to try it on now before I do any finishing of seams with my overlocker, and to really try and get a feeling of whether this fits okay. I haven't put bust darts in, so it looks quite boxy, but like I say, you never know what it's going to look like until you try it on, and that's kind of the look I'm going for, not too tight. So let's just see what it looks like. Okay, so this is the bodice on. I think it might be at about the right place for my waist. It's about making sure it's just kind of underneath the bust, but not on my actual waist. Just a little bit higher. I think it looks lovely here. As you can see, I haven't pattern matched. I didn't even think about that. I'm hoping that's not an issue. No bust darts in, but the only place it's a bit big is here. And this is an issue I often have where things are a bit bigger over the shoulder. So that means when I put my sleeve in already, yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is turn it inside out and just kind of take a bit of this material out. I've done that before with other patterns. But no, I'm happy that there was no bust darts in. But yeah, I just need to take a bit of material out of here before I attach the sleeves. But yeah, I feel happy with where it is. Lovely. What do you think of the pattern? It's lovely fabric, it's so soft. Right, so I cut off 1 inch from each side, from the shoulders round to the sleeve, like the whole hole, and that looks much better on my shoulder. I did measure like the t-shirt I'm wearing, kind of from the neckline to where the shoulder seam is, it's about 5 inches, and so I cut it to 6 to kind of give me a bit of seam allowance either side. So fingers crossed that's okay. I've overlocked now all my edges, so the shoulder seams and the side seams, and you can see here where I've just cut, well, you probably can't see, you can't tell if I've done it or not, but I just had and again with my not so skillful sewing, I just had my tape measure and I just used that as a guide to help me cut just 1 inch off all the way round the curve. So I've done that both sides. Okay, so that bodice is all done and ready to have things joined to it. So first of all, for the sleeves, to get the sleeve into that shoulder place, you have to add some gathering stitches. And so you cut some little notches. This indicates the back with 2, and the one with 1 indicates the front. So I'm going to add some gathering stitches here, which then kind of cinches it all together so you can fit the sleeve. And then I'll sew down the side seam of the sleeve as well. So I'm just going to go and do that. So this is just a quick kind of test if the sleeve fits. So I've got the 2 notches at the back, so that will be on this sleeve. And so that's feeling fine. That's what I just wanted to make sure because I'm going to be cinching that end bit in. So I wanted a bit of extra sleeve here because it's going to cinch in with the elastic. But yeah, I think that feels fine. Once you get your seam allowance, I'm hoping that will be a good fit. But the main thing is it's not skin tight on my arms. Lovely. Right, I'm now going to attach. So I've pulled on my gathering stitches to create a little bit of, a gather here. And now I'm attaching the sleeve to the bodice, matching my seams first, and then I'll work my way round and make sure it fits in the hole. So here's my sleeve all set in. There's all nice smooth straight edges, the seams match up, and then there's just a little bit of gathering. You never need to do as much gathering as you think, and I try and keep that gathering right at the top of the shoulder. In past dresses I've made, I've put the sleeves in back to front the wrong way round, and sometimes the gathering has been at the front or at the back, and I do try hard, but you can just see the kind of gathering is on that centre. Okay, I'm gonna sew it together. Okay, so I've just pulled the sleeve through, and I'm really happy with that gathering just at the top. It's nice and smooth at the front and at the back. Yeah, lovely. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second sleeve, then I'll pop it on again and show you, see how it all fits. Okay, so I've got the top on. I think I'm happy. See what you think. So the sleeves are in. I feel really pleased with the shoulder. I'm definitely glad I took that extra inch, otherwise the shoulders would be over here. So I think, for note to self, I need to remember this kind of 5-inch measurement. Let's see if that measures 5 inches. Yeah, look, it's almost, yeah. So that's another thing with dressmaking. It's kind of keep adjusting things so they fit your body, even a changing body. I'm really pleased with the sleeves. I don't want them to be skin tight. You know, I want it to be loose, and then when I put the elastic in, that's going to give it a lovely kind of, not big balloon sleeve, but it's just, yeah, really pretty. Yeah, I think I'm pleased. Should I be annoyed that it's not pattern matched? I don't know, I don't think so. And I've got a funny feeling this is a bit higher than I've had before, but I don't like it too low, and it ends up having ties. It's hard to tell at the moment because it looks like a very high neckline, but soon I'm going to be adding Bodice binding, which will turn all my edges over, and then I'll have a tie to do like a bow. But no, I feel really pleased. You know, some people might think, oh, is that too big here? You know, because obviously I didn't do any bust darts, so I didn't kind of pull it in. But also, once you attach the skirt, that kind of pulls everything down as well. I'm pleased. I'm really pleased with it. I really wanted to make something lovely with this pattern, or with this fabric, and I hope I can do it justice. But I've got to say, I'm really pleased with these sleeves. I didn't mention that the sleeves are actually from the indigo dress, not from this spring dress, because I've made a few indigo dresses recently, and I'm really happy with the sleeves. So yeah, be lovely. Right, now onto, I don't know if I to attach the bias binding and get that whole bodice done, because doing the skirt is, for me, easy peasy. Just got to add the pockets, sew the skirt together, gather the top, and then join it. Oh, pleased so far. So I'm now attaching my binding to the neckline, and you make sure you've got right sides together. No, you don't. It says right side of the binding will be against the wrong side of the body, so I need to put it the other way around. Now I'm correct. So we've got the wrong side of the bodice, but the right side of the binding. I've opened it up a little bit, and you can see a lovely crease there. I'm making sure that the raw edges are touching, and then once I've worked my way all the way around the neckline, I will then be sewing along that crease. So that's what I'll do now. I just thought I'd show you one finished sleeve so you can see the elastic casing is a bit higher up, which frees up this little bit of cuff. I've got my bias binding all sewn on with my ties. I'm just going to do a little bow. Oh, I'm so happy with it. Yeah, very, very sweet. So I've still got to do that sleeve, but again, that sleeve I'm really, really happy with. I'll just show you a bit lower so you can see it is a long sleeve. Oh, that's so nice. Right, this is how I'm doing my sleeves from now on. Very, very sweet. So now I've just got to attach the skirt, and then I'm done. I might have to finish this on another day because it's getting a bit dark, but I'm now going to quickly get my pockets on, gather the skirt, but it's nearly tea time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll catch up with you on the last little bit, but I'm really, really happy with that bodice. Oh, it's such lovely soft fabric. Thank you, Gaynor. Love it. I think these have got to be the best sleeves I've ever done. Lovely. Hello, it's a couple of days later and I just need to finish the dress. So I ended my making the other day with a completed bodice and I'm over the moon with it. Just so you can get a nice close up of that bias binding. And oh, these cute sleeves, I'm so happy with them. I think a lot of the patterns, there's a lot more extra here, but I didn't want to lose the length in the sleeve. But I'm really happy with it, but I will definitely experiment. That I've got to say as well, the fabric is like, I know it's needle cord, but it's like velvet. It is so silky soft to the touch. It's beautiful. The other thing I was just going to mention with the bias binding, so I've done bias binding in different ways on different dresses. This bias binding, how I had to join it, when I then turned it over, I turned the full amount of binding over to the outside. But on other dresses I've made, I've turned it onto the inside. So there's nothing, it kind of looks, actually, if I do it like that, it ends up looking like that on the front and that on the inside. And I think I probably prefer that. It's fine. It's okay, isn't it? But yeah, I'm really happy with the bow and the length of tie I got there. And in fact, I'm really happy with that slit. It's absolutely fine. I'm really, really happy with this shoulder part. Over the moon with that. So, bodice complete. And now we just need to move on to the skirt. The other thing I was just going to mention, because I was looking at it this morning, I've got a little book that I use from So Very Me. This is where I put all of my making, my knitting, my crochet, anything I'm making, I have a little page for. And so for today's dress, I always put what the dress is, who the designer was, what the fabric is, anything different I use. So I added that I used the indigo sleeve. I explained for myself that I had a pattern piece already cut out, and then I added an extra inch all the way round to give me just a bit more space. I talked about cutting off the shoulder inch just to make that shoulder distance perfect. And I said again about the bias binding being folded on the outside. I think on the pattern it says have half of the bias binding on the outside and half of it on the inside, but I just folded it all the way on the outside. Talked about how much seam allowance I've used, and so far I've used a 1 centimetre seam allowance. I've added that I talked about, or joined a different type of cuff with the elastic a bit higher, and that I've put no bust darts. So for me, it just gives me a bit more of an idea. If I want to make this dress again, and I like it, I can see back to how I've made it in the past. But I'm, yeah, over the moon. Oh, the colour is just beautiful. It doesn't really do it. It looks a bit paler on screen. It's a little bit darker, but I'm going to be doing this all the time because it's so soft. Beautiful. Okay, right, now onto the skirt. So, like the other day, I had it all prepared. So I've got my skirt pieces and my pocket pieces. I use a particular measure. I've shown this on other sew-alongs I've done. I've just used a lid of my pins because this seems to be the perfect. I must measure that, what actually that is. Don't know how many centimetres that is. So you clip your pocket right sides together at the length that you want the pockets to be. I'm now going to sew them to it. So I sew a row of stitches here, and then I also open it up and sew it to that little bit of seam allowance there as well. That just really makes it secure. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I am putting my fabric literally level with the presser foot, so I can get quite a close stitch. Oh, there's baby cord thread all over my black dress today. Right, here we go. So my pockets are on. I'm now going to sew 2 rows of gathering stitches, and I tend to do my first row with the fabric level with the presser foot, and my second row a tiny little bit away from the first row. The other thing is I don't go back and forth because you need to leave some threads at the end of each end for pulling to make the gathers, and I've got it on my biggest stitch length, number 4. Off we go. I've just run out of my bobbin thread, so before I refill my bobbin, I just thought I'd show you. Look at all the threads, all the little bits of green all over the dress. I need to get one of those lint rollers, get all that off. Right, let's fill this bobbin up. Okay, so I've got my 2 rows of gathering stitches on the front and the back of the skirt pieces. So I'm now going to join them together. I'm going to start my sewing just a bit lower, so leave these bits free. And I'm going to sew the front and back together, down the side seam, around the pocket, and then all the way down to the bottom. And then that will create, I'll have 1 big tube, and then all I need to do is pull on my gathering stitches to fit it to the bodice. Exciting, nearly done. It is absolutely freezing in here today. Can you hear it's pouring? We've had so much rain. Let me just, yeah, really, really wet. Right, let's get on. So my skirt is sewn, side seams together, and you can see it's a really big rectangle. And what I need to do is pull on my gathering threads so that it matches this distance, and then you join them together. So I'm just going to try and find the 2 threads closest to me on this bit of fabric. It can be a bit tricky because there's loads of threads, so I've got 2 threads, and then I'm going to just hold onto the fabric and start. Maybe I should show it in a different direction. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to hold onto this front piece of fabric, and with those threads I'm just going to start pulling and dragging it along. Like that. And I just do a little bit at a time, and then I'll go to the other side and pull from that side as well, and then offer it up to the bodice just to see how close. And the big thing is getting those gathers nice and even. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so my gathers are all pulled and they're the same length as the bodice. I'm now putting my bodice inside the skirt, and I'm going to start clipping the bodice to the skirt all the way round evenly, just making sure everything fits. So I tend to clip the side seams first, and then I've got a centre seam here, so I'll do that in the centre, so I can just make sure again as I'm clipping I'm evening out my gathers. Right, I'm ready to go, ready to sew. So everything is clipped together. The big thing here is where I've got my 2 gathering stitches, I now sew them together beyond that, so that when I turn it inside out the right way round, you can't see any of the gathering stitches. So it probably gives a bit of a bigger seam allowance on this bit, but that's fine. But it's just a bit, it's just making sure, because you've got a lot of fabric here, that everything is lying flat. It's really easy for things to kind of get puckered. So I've constantly got to rejig and make sure the fabric underneath is flat that I'm sewing. Right, here we go. Right, it's all sewn together. You can see it's quite scruffy here, but when I neaten it all up with my overlocker, that will give a lovely neat join. But before I do that, I need to turn it the right way around, have a look at it, try it on, and fingers crossed it's okay. This is always either satisfying or you worry that you've done it a bit wrong. Let me give it a shake. Right, so I can still see some gathering stitches, so it could just be my stitching was a little bit uneven, but what I'm looking for really is that there is a good join and the gathers look nice. I can go back and unpick any, like here I think there's a little bit of thread, but I can do that after. Oh look, but essentially I've got my skirt attached, just looking at my pockets. Lovely. I think the gathers look nice. And at the back, again, there's a bit of gathering stitches that I can pull out. Right, I'm going to try it on. Right, I've got it on. I think I'm happy with it. I'm absolutely, like I said the other day, really happy with that bodice. I think that fits really nice, feels lovely. So let me show you from the waist down. So because there's no darts in the bust and there's no darts at the skirt, it's a loose fitting skirt, which is exactly how I like to wear it. I don't think it feels like it's too oversized. The pockets are lovely, perfect height or length or position. And again, it's quite a straight, it's not an A-line gathered skirt. Now I just need to do my measuring, so I like from my waist or my join to the length, I like it to be about 32 inches. So it's not really long. Oh, I think I'm happy with the gathers. Yeah, lovely. So I think what I'm going to do is unpick any loose threads that I can see and overlock the seam so that's nice and neat and secure, and then we'll be hemming. But it feels lovely. Yeah, what do you think? Excuse my socks. I've got my tights on. Oh, it's lovely. I absolutely love the sleeves. Yeah, what do you think? Okay, so I'm right near the end now. I'm just going to show you on the inside so you can see I've finished all my seams with this lovely colourful overlocker that matches perfectly. I've also overlocked all around the pockets, all down the seams, and then after I did that I measured on the ironing board from this overlock seam to the end to get to 31 inches. So I turned it over once and then over a bit more and measured it all the way round and ironed it in all the way round. So my skirt length is now 31 inches, which is fine, and I'm now going to sew it all in place and then it's done. I've given it an iron all over as well, and then I'll try it on again and then take some pictures for Instagram, and then yeah, that will be my finished sew along. So I'm really happy with it. So let's just get sewing the hem and then I'll show you it on. So my dress is finished. I filmed some video outside. It was raining a little bit, but perfect really for this kind of autumnal looking dress. Yeah, I love it. I think it's one of the nicest dresses and best fitting dresses I've made, and made even more beautiful with this lovely, lovely fabric. Yeah, so huge shout out to Gaynor. Thank you so much for gifting me this beautiful fabric. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this sew along, all the bits and bobs along the way. Not too many mistakes today, but I'm hoping I shared a kind of honest view of how I sew my clothes. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to message me if you need any advice, but also give it a go. You know, don't be frightened. I think sometimes you just have to go for it, and you can see from the way I sew, I mix and match patterns and make adjustments and just go with the flow and see how it works out. And it, you know, it's worked out okay without, you know, precisely measuring, just kind of measuring myself. But yeah, I love it. Just need to get this bow the right way around with the string bits, but yeah, it's lovely, and I absolutely, yeah, so happy with these cuffs. That's another really nice thing I think is to do with when you make your own clothes, you know, be inspired by other things you see in the shops. Generally, you know, it's not hard, it's not, you know, it's not rocket science trying to, you know, join things together, but it's just working out how do you do it. I just had no idea how to create this, and just went on YouTube and put sleeve cuffs, and it came up with lots of different options explaining, and it wasn't difficult at all, you know. So yeah, good old YouTube for lots of people out there sharing their knowledge and how they do things. But yeah, I hope I've inspired some of you to make your own clothes, and yeah, let me know in the comments. So yeah, off to tidy up my little sewing space, pick up all these threads, and yeah, another lovely dress made for my wardrobe. See you all soon. Bye.